shit knocking though.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. We are on to episode number 25 now. My name is Jordan Daly. With me, as always, I have Mike White, Stacey Collier, and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
What's up? What's going on? We back.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think it's been like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
Too long. We're supposed to be a weekly podcast. We've been dropping the ball on that, so apologize for that. But yeah, we're going to do our best. It's hard, all our jobs are in school, so it's hard to find time where everyone can meet. But yeah, let's get into it. We have a lot of ground to cover, 2 weeks of NBA content. So it's been a lot. I'm looking at the list right now, and we got a lot of stuff. So let's just get right into it. One of the topics that has been going around NBA Twitter and, even ESPN talk shows, early lookings for MVP. And Stacey's doing an article on this right now. I think he's working on it. You have Luka Doncic out of the Dallas Mavericks and LeBron James out of the Lakers. Luka would be the youngest person to win MVP. LeBron would be the oldest to win MVP. So regardless if either of them win it, it's going to be historic. Personally, I think it's too early to start talking about MVP. There's a long season to go, and a lot of people can still emerge for that. But we're going to deal with that right now. Luka versus LeBron James for MVP. Kind of hash that out a little bit. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and we'll start with you, Ben.
I mean, like you said, it's much, much too early to be talking about this because there's still a good 60-plus games for all of these teams left to play. But if the season were to end right now, Luka Doncic would be the NBA MVP, youngest ever. He's had a super impressive season far, averaging nearly real close to a triple-double. He's just been elevating his team, his regular season stats so far in only 14 games. Almost 30 points, 29.9 on decent shooting, 49-ish% from the field, 10.6 boards, 9.4 assists, throwing 1.4 steals. He's just been having an incredible season all around. His three-point shooting leaves a little bit to be desired at below 35%, but the rest of his game all around is super impressive. He's got limitless range. He doesn't look like an athlete, you know what I mean? But he's so smooth. His game is just so smooth. And we'll have to see how the rest of the season plays out. But in my opinion, if the season were to end today, Luka Doncic would be the NBA MVP.
Okay. Stacey, what about you, Luka or LeBron?
Well, if I had to throw in my bias, I would pick LeBron to be the MVP. And why not? Because in his 17th year, this man is averaging a double-double right now. It's just amazing things he's doing. He looks rejuvenated. He looks fully healthy. He looks like he can keep this up for the long term. But being objective here, I got to be objective, got to be fair. I'll give the slight edge to Luka Doncic for MVP, just because the NBA tends to shy away from multiple winners for MVP, want to spread the wealth, spread the love, and then now the NBA is a young man game now, and Luka Doncic is leading the way like Ben was bringing up. He's averaging almost a triple-double. That's crazy in his second year, and his stats is much improved from his first year too. Like he's shooting greater than 10% from his free throws like he did last season. That's crazy. And he's shooting way better. He's averaging more points. He's doing his thing right now. And then the cherry on top, the Mavericks are in a position to chase a playoff seed. They're 9-5 right now. They're winning. So why not give it to Luka Doncic for MVP?
So you have Luka winning MVP, but your bias wants you to say LeBron?
Yeah, my bias wanted to say LeBron,
okay.
But I
feel that. All right, Mike. LeBron's your guy.
Well, look, let's not get crazy. But look, this is pretty simple, and I'm kind of mad both of y'all said Luka. It's easily LeBron. First off, LeBron's leading the league in assists in his 17th year. I mean, you've already said it, Stacey. LeBron has been amazing this year. He plays better defense than Luka Doncic. He's like, I think, ranked 6th or 5th in defensive win shares. Luka can't guard nobody. I mean, I don't know how you could pick him over him. The Lakers are 12-2. Not to mention the Lakers beat the Mavericks head-to-head where LeBron outplayed Luka. I think it's pretty simple. LeBron is ahead of Luka as far as MVP race. If I had to choose between them two, I'm definitely going LeBron.
All right, so follow-up question on that. I asked one of my friends this the other night, and he said LeBron, and he also said that Luka is not even a top 10 player in the NBA. Where do you have Luka in your rankings?
I would say right now he's definitely top 10 in the NBA. I wouldn't get crazy now. I respect Luka. Don't get it twisted. But when it comes to LeBron, that's just a whole different level right there. But no, Luka's definitely top 10 right now.
Okay. I mean, if it was up to me, like the NBA ended today, I still think it's way too early to even be discussing this. What, I'd be like 14, 15 games into the season.
Yeah.
I would take Luka in this, and obviously, like, people that know me are gonna say, "Oh, it's just bias," because I absolutely hate LeBron. But when it comes down to it, most valuable player in my eyes is like the most valuable player to a franchise. You know, if you take LeBron out of LA, the Lakers are still going to be a pretty good team. You know, they got AD, who's honestly their main focal point of that team, I feel like now. And they still have a pretty solid core of guys around them. If you take Luka out of Dallas, yikes. That's going to be a bad team because Porzingis hasn't been doing well, and they really don't have anyone else. So for most valuable player, I'm going to give it to Luka. Like either Stacey or Ben was saying, he's averaging nearly a triple-double. He's 0.6 assists away. He's second in the NBA for assists, obviously behind LeBron, as Stacey mentioned earlier. But just the way he's dominating the floor, and in my opinion, he has way less to work with on his team than LeBron does, is just very, very impressive to me. He's out there looking like a true leader as a second-year player in the NBA. Obviously, what LeBron is doing is very impressive as well. I don't want to downplay that at all. I can't even remember a last time, or if it's ever been done, someone at his age has been putting up numbers like this and still just completely dominating. So I want to give credit where credit's due there, but I still have to give it to Luka.
Yeah. And something I do want to say about Luka before we wrap up this topic is that the jump in his stats for like more than 8 points per game, field goal percentage is up by like almost 6%. It's made all the more impressive by the fact that he's now sharing the floor with Porzingis.
Yeah.
Because realistically, Porzingis should be kind of sucking up some of his stats, as you know, KD did with Steph, as an example. But Luka only jumped, and he jumped drastically in terms of all of his stats. So to me, that's just like makes it all the more impressive.
For sure. And another thing is, like, it's not like he's playing against bad teams. If you look at the Mavericks schedule, they've played Toronto, they've played Boston, they've had a decent schedule. They've had some games where, yeah, it's pretty bad. You know, they played Cleveland, they played New York, they played Orlando, but it's not like the Celtics schedule, and I hate to say that. You know, Celtics have had it pretty easy so far. But moving on from that, because I don't want to say anything bad about the Celtics ever again. Melo is back. That's a big headline. It kind of came as a surprise to me. I don't know about you guys. The announcement came that he was signing with the Trailblazers after they waived Pau Gasol. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Pau is picking up a coaching role with the team now.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but I heard he was going to pick up an assistant coaching role with the team. But Melo is back. It's been, I think, over a year without Melo in the NBA. So I was very happy to see him back. I know a lot of players chimed in on Twitter, current and former, just very excited for Melo to see him play again. He's been in 2 games so far, I believe.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to talk about that with you guys so far. Do you think he has a spot in the NBA? Where do you think his role is with the Trailblazers? And kind of go from there. So, Mike, I'm going to start with you this time. Kind of talk your thoughts on Melo, his role with the Trailblazers, and if you think he can be a real key contributor for that team.
Okay, well, first off, congrats to Melo, finally back in the league. That's where he's always wanted to be. That's what he's been prepping for, getting in shape for. So glad to see him get an opportunity. As far as his role with the Blazers, I think they're gonna ask him to come in and do what he does best and be Melo and score. They need scoring right now. As we were talking before we started recording, they've got injuries on the Blazers right now. Damian Lillard's out. Zach Collins, of course, Nurkic is still out. This is a team really riddled with injuries, and they're really struggling to score. So Melo can come in. He can provide that. They entered him. I was really surprised they put him right in the starting lineup to begin with, but they must have seen something in practice, and they trust him. He's a vet. The first game was kind of shaky for him, which I expected it. But tonight, like I said, I was telling you guys, he had about 18 points tonight, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. So he looks good. I think he's going to come in, be a solid vet. He's seen how a guy like Dwight Howard is kind of rewriting his career towards the end right now. And I don't think Melo wants to be left out of the picture. He knows he's still good enough to play in the NBA. So I think the Blazers are going to give him a good shot. If they get everybody back healthy, maybe they can make a run at the playoffs, but they've fallen into kind of a deep hole in the West right now. I think they're about 5-10 or 5-11, something like that. So it's going to be tough, but I think he's going to provide a good role for them for scoring. Not much of a defensive player, as we all know that, but I think he'll be good with them.
Okay. Stacey, what about you? What are your thoughts on Melo?
First of all, like Mike, I'm glad Melo's back in the league. He deserved another shot, and I'm glad he's getting that. I always picture him going to the Blazers. I thought that they was one of those teams that can use Melo. They can definitely use some wing talent. They got the guards. They got Nurkic when Nurkic is healthy. Pretty good, productive center. They just need somebody on the wing. They need somebody to score. And right now, they definitely need somebody to score because they are struggling. They without Damian Lillard. I think he brings that to the table most definitely. Do not look for him to play defense. Don't look for him to play defense. I think the perfect role for Melo is to be the sixth man coming off the bench, like a Lou Will type role, a veteran who's going to eat like starter-esque minutes, but he's going to give you a lot of scoring. He's going to give you a lot of production. And the stat line that he put up tonight, 18, 7, and 4, that's what I see for Melo this year, 18, 7, and 4. I think he can put that up consistently throughout the whole year. So I'm glad that he's on the Blazers. The Blazers, they need him. As far as the whole picture is concerned, I don't know if this puts them over the top as far as making it out the West. Remember last year, they stopped at the Western Conference Finals. And they got the same team pretty much, minus a couple of players. But a lot of teams got better. And right now, they're like 5-10. They're in the hole, so they need to start winning now.
So as Mike brought up, Melo comes in. I think we all kind of expected him to be a bench role type of player. But he cracked the starting lineup game 1. Do you think that's his role moving forward? Do you think he'll stay on the starting lineup, or do you think you'll see him more as six man coming off the bench type role?
Six man, especially when Damian Lillard and Nurkic, they come back and they play, they get reintegrated in the lineup. I don't see him fitting in with the starting unit. Like, you have Dame and you have CJ, that's 2 ball dominant players already. Then you put Melo there, that's 3, and then Melo lacks on defense, so that kind of makes things dicey for the Blazers a little bit. So I think a 6-man role where he's not pressured to play defense, all he can do is do what he do best, which is score, is a perfect thing for him.
So do you think he's going to be okay with that, though? Because if you think back to his demise and kind of when he left the NBA the first time, one of his main problems was the attitude that he didn't really want to come off the bench. He thought he was a starter and he wanted to be a starter. So come time when, some of those injured players start getting better and start hitting the floor again, and Melo's starting role is going to be gone, as we'd assume it would be, how do you think he'll handle that? Do you think he's going to accept it now and he's just happy he's in the league?
Yeah, I think he'll accept it. Remember, he had that interview with Stephen A. Smith, I believe. He said he's willing to take any role on any team. And whoever have him, he'll do what it takes to fit in. So I think he'll definitely I think he'll definitely do great in that 6-man role, and he's going to accept it. All he wanted was a shot. All he wanted was to play again. All he wants to go out on his own terms. Now he has that. So I think he'll do well and flourish.
Okay. Ben, what about you? What are your thoughts on Melo?
It's kind of mixed because that first game showed you exactly the reason that he wasn't performing the past couple years. He put up 10 points, sure, and he hit some threes early, and people were excited about it. But he finished the game 4-14 shooting, something like that. He was like a -20 plus minus. He just didn't play well. 5 turnovers and 5 fouls. He just didn't play well overall. But this past game, he kind of showed out, and I'm not sure if that's sustainable. I don't think, like Stacey was saying, he can expect Melo to put up those kind of numbers on a regular basis. I'm not sure if he's going to be doing that, especially when Dame comes back, especially when Nurkic comes back. But like both those guys said, I'm glad Melo has another chance because that's all he was waiting for. And like he said, it's going to be different this time if he comes back. And I truly believe that, like you were saying, now that he has this chance, he's not gonna complain about his role anymore. He's just gonna fit in wherever he fits in because he learned his lesson. He was out of the league for about a year, and he knew he was more talented than some of the guys, like probably the entire Warriors roster at this point. The entire Warriors healthy roster at least. But he wasn't getting that opportunity because of his attitude. So I think he adjusted that. I think he learned his lesson from the year or so that he spent off. And I'm expecting Melo to play a good bench role this year, maybe around 10 to 15 points a game, and just really contribute to hopefully a winning team if Portland can bounce back.
I mean, I agree. I think for now he's definitely going to be fine with whatever role they give him just because he wants to, be back into the NBA and play basketball because that's what he loves to do. Yeah. But I'm kind of curious to see if it stays that way. I'm curious to see if he gets comfortable. And, I feel like if they gave him a starting role, he'll probably keep that role for a while until either some injured players get back or they find another option. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen, if he's a starter for, a month or two and then they all of a sudden say, no, you're on the bench. I'm curious to see how he's going to react to that. I feel like he's kind of on a trial contract right now because nothing's guaranteed for him. It was a non-guaranteed contract, so it'll be interesting to see if he's going to keep that willing to do anything attitude, team first mentality, because he has proven in the past that he wants to start. He wants those minutes. He wants to get the points. He wants to be on the scoreboard. And the Trailblazers, that's not his team. That's Dame's team. That's Lillard's. That's Damian Lillard's team. That's CJ McCollum's team. It's not his. So definitely got to be something to watch going forward. Do you guys have anything else to bring up about Melo?
No, I don't like the 0-0. Hopefully he can change that.
Yeah. The reason he picked that is because it looks like the infinity symbol, and he wants to play basketball forever, something like that. Yeah, I was reading the Instagram post. It was kind of cheesy. But,
can't rock a 0-0 jersey. I don't think about getting a Melo jersey.
Can't hate Melo, but 0-0 is just why? Why would you pick?
I am. He's number 7. It's always
right. Stay Melo. But moving on from Melo, one thing we wanted to talk about on the last episode, but we ran out of time, was kind of a Rookie of the Year race. Obviously, Zion is still not playing, and it'll be a little while until then. But some rookies have been balling out. We got guys kind of leading the league for rookies right now. We got Ja Morant, Tyler Hero, RJ Barrett, Eric Pascal, Rui Hachimura, and Kendrick Nunn are kind of the names that have stood out to us when we were talking about this earlier. So I kind of wanted to go around and hear your thoughts on Rookie of the Year. Who's the front runner for you guys? Do you think Zion still has a chance? Yeah, even though he's coming into it very, very late. And before that, have you guys seen the recent picture of Zion?
No.
The recent picture, it was released 3-4 days ago on Twitter of him at the arena in sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Gained a couple pounds and had a grease stain from Popeyes.
Oh, I did see that picture.
Yeah, that's not a flattering picture.
I mean, what's wrong with him eating fast food every now and again? I mean,
dude's getting thick. Not gonna lie.
He'll work it out. I'm literally work it out.
I don't know, man. Going into the draft, I never thought he would have been a bust, but the longer he goes and the more pictures we see of him gaining weight.
That is way too soon to call. That is
way too soon.
He's got bust potential written all over him. I'm saying
bust potential, but it's early to call that.
No, I'm not calling him a bust by any means right now. I haven't seen him play a minute in the NBA, but I'm just saying he has bust potential all over it.
His preseason was ridiculous too.
We'll see if he can get back into the game.
I hope so.
But yeah, kind of want to hear your thoughts on the Rookie of the Year race if Zion still has a chance and who your top 3 are for Rookie of the Year in order. And we'll start with you this time, Ben.
In order?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 1, and this is kind of I like this pick because he was drafted low. Well, he was drafted high, but lower than you would expect a Rookie of the Year to be drafted. Tyler Hero on the Miami Heat. He came out of Kentucky, and he wasn't anything all that spectacular in Kentucky. He was a good player, but I guess he was overshadowed by guys like PJ Washington. But so far this season, and he started out scorching hot. He had a good preseason, and then he started the season playing like 38 minutes in his season debut, in his career debut, 36 minutes against the Rockets the next game. He's putting up 23 points, knocking down threes like it's nobody's business. Just playing really, really well overall. But the 29 points against the Hawks in his career debut, shooting 40% from 3, and he's taken a high volume of threes too. He's just scoring 14 points per game. He's just stepped into a really good role, and he stepped into a really good role on a contender. Like guys might be putting up better stats than Tyler Hero, but he's doing it on a winning team that's loaded with, like, you've got Jimmy Butler, you've got, Justice Winslow, other guys that are sucking up stats, and other guys that he's playing behind, and he's still doing it. He had 22 points on 9 for 13 shooting, 4 for 7 from deep. Like, he's doing real well, and that was last night. So it just impresses me, his stats, and then the fact that he's doing it on a good team. Number 2, I've got Ja Morant, who's been having a really good season, as expected. He was picked 2nd overall. He came out of sort of like a mid-major school, and he's so far this season 18.5 points, 41% from deep, and he's been 6 assists, and he's been already showing the clutch gene. He had a game-winning, tough contested layup against the Hornets, I believe. So he's really been impressing me so far this season, and he's that team's leader, more or less, at this point already, and he's a rookie. And then the last but not least, I kind of had to throw this guy in there, whether he deserves it or not. Rui Hachimura, he's doing it for Japan. First round pick out of Japan. So far this season, 13 points, 50% from the field, 6 rebounds. He's been playing well. He had 21 against your Celtics on 9 for 12 shooting.
I was at that game.
Were you?
I was.
Live in the flesh then you saw him.
It was a great W.
Great W. You were playing the Wizards. But no, he's been really impressing me so far this season. I didn't expect him to step into this big of a role so far, this early. So just to summarize, Tyler Hero, Ja Morant, Rui Hachimura, 3 guys who, outside of Ja Morant, Tyler Hero and Rui Hachimura, you didn't expect to be playing this well so far. And Tyler Hero just doing it on a contender like the Heat has been impressing me.
Yeah, so you definitely surprised me picking Hero over Morant. I actually thought it was going to be Morant around the room for everyone. So what made you pick Hero over Morant?
I mean, his stats, honestly, are not all that different. He's been shooting the ball just around the same, just averaging a few less points, but with much less opportunity. Like, Ja Morant has the ball in his hands all the time. on the Grizzlies. If we're being realistic, he's their guy. But Tyler Hero is like the third, fourth option on the Heat, and he's been putting up similar numbers in, like a similar amount of minutes. So just he's been doing it on a winning team with less opportunity, and he's been playing really well. He's been impressing me for sure.
Okay. So you don't think Zion has a chance at all?
It just depends on how long he stays out, and the longer he stays out, the less his chances become.
Yeah. I mean, you look back to last year with Doncic and Young. I mean, Young played the whole year, but he started off slower than Luka did. And, if that second half of the season post All-Star break, if they were both playing like that all year, it could have been different. So
for sure, I agree.
It really shows how much the entire year takes into account for this vote. Stacey, what about you? What are your top three for Rookie of the Year in order?
My top three. At 3, I had Tyler Hero at 3. I thought that he was that sneaky, underrated player in the draft. I expected him to be a good shooter in the NBA, and he's proven that so far. At number 2, I had R.J. Barrett. I thought R.J. Barrett would ball out with the New York Knicks. I thought he'll be like just that one bright spot for him, because right now they going through it. And number one, and he's been my number one all along ever since the draft. Ja Morant been number 1. I believe he's leading all rookies in scoring with 18.5. He has the ball in his hands. He's making plays. He's been clutch, that clutch layup to seal the game. And also he had that game-sealing shot block on Kyrie Irving. I know you like that. I know you like that, Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan like that. He's still a smile on his face already.
Yeah, he has that. And he's breathing new life into the Memphis Grizzlies, because they were just dead in the water ever since they broke up the Grindhouse band. So I had Ja Morant number 1 for Rookie of the Year, even over Zion before Zion got hurt, and I'm sticking with it. Speaking of Zion, he does have a small chance to overtake the conversation, but like Ben said, it does depend on when he comes back. Like if he comes back, like say mid-December, and he puts up the amount of points per game people expecting him to and more, then I think he'll take over the conversation for Rookie of the Year. I think he'll be number 1 in everybody's eyes, but I'm still gonna stick with Ja Morant though.
Okay. Mike, what about you? What are your top 3 for Rookie of the Year?
So at number 3, Tyler Hero. You guys have pretty much said that he's been a great knockdown shooter for the Heat. He's shown he can put the ball on the floor and be clutch. So I've liked him from the beginning of the year. He was one of my sleeper picks for rookies, and he's definitely been showing out. So I got him at number 3. And number 2, I got somebody else on the Heat. I believe Kendrick Nunn. I like how he's been playing. He's been very aggressive this year. He's the other rookie on the Heat that's been helping them to this great start. One of my surprising teams, which we'll get to later. So I like the way he's been playing. He's been very impressive. He has no fear. They put him in there, and like a mini D Wade out there. So I like that. And then at number 1 is a no-brainer. It's Ja Morant. I mean, game winners, like you said, game winners, game blocks against Kyrie, creating for others. He does it all, both sides of the court. He has a little swagger to him. He's been leading the Memphis. I mean, I know they're not a good team right now, but you can see you have a point guard of the future for that team. So, yeah, Ja Morant's number 1 for me right now. As far as Zion, like you guys already said, it just depends on when he comes back, but you brought up a great point, Jordan. Trae Young picked up on the back half of the year last year, and still wasn't enough. Luka kept that consistency, so it might already be too late depending on when he comes back, honestly. But I don't know. People like Zion. He's a hype machine. So if he comes back and he's putting up like 20 and his highlights every night, he might have a good shot.
One thing that you brought up that I wanted to take note of is you said that Ja Morant's kind of leading his team. He's looking like a real point guard, kind of like an experienced player type. And, that was one of the things I questioned going into the year. He comes out of Murray State. It's not a very big basketball school. He didn't really have as much competition as guys like Duke did. So that was one thing that I questioned and doubted. I'll admit I doubted that. And it's kind of crazy to see him coming out and just being the confident guard he is, not afraid to take those clutch shots, game-winning shots. So I just wanted to bring that up. But my top three, I have one guy that hasn't been brought up yet, coming in at number 3. I have Eric Pascal out of Golden State. Golden State had some key losses. They had Klay Thompson injured, and then Steph Curry hurt his hand. He's out for an unknown amount of time, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be the season. So right now, they're really relying on D'Angelo Russell, who's hurt again right now. So Draymond Green, who isn't looking too good this season, in my opinion. And, they're really getting led by their rookies and guys that, honestly, most people just haven't heard of before. So Eric Pascal has really stood out to me. He's been putting up some great numbers, 17.1 points, just shy of 5 rebounds and an assist per game, which are good numbers for a power forward. He's just very much surprised me. I don't think anyone had Eric Pascal on their radar whatsoever going into the year, which is a perfect transition for my second pick, which is Kendrick Nunn. And I'm glad, Mike, you brought it up. This guy was undrafted, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So
he was in the G League for the past little while.
Yeah, but undrafted before that.
Yes.
So, him coming out and showing up like that, he kind of has that chip on his shoulder like IT did. IT was the last pick, and I love seeing that. Mini Dwayne Wade, I like that comparison. The dude's just putting up numbers like night in, night out. And, at first, we have a fantasy league among us. I saw him in the free agency. I was looking at him. I was like, oh, there's no way that dude's going to keep putting up like 30 points, 20 points a night. That's not going to happen. And he is. He's still doing it. So, I don't know. It could be a tough pick at number 2. I think either Tyler Hero or Kendrick Nunn. I think one of them is going to continue going up. I think one of them is going to kind of plateau. I feel like there's not enough room for both of them to keep shining out like that. But I could be wrong. I think it's going to come down to coaching and who they kind of want to play through, who they're going to put more of their faith into moving forward. I just don't think there's enough room for all of that on one team to run a game plan through. And then at number 1, just like Micah Stacey, I have John Morant. I doubted him like I just brought up earlier coming into this year, but he's proved me wrong. He's putting up insane numbers. He's looking like he's been in the league for a few years now. And I think he's going to keep developing and growing on that. I think he's going to try to put Memphis back on the map, which is an extremely hard task. They're not a big market team. They don't have a huge fan base, but I think he's going to do it. And it's all going to start with him. They have a young team over there, so it'll be interesting to see if they can develop and kind of grow around John Morant. But I definitely think he's the front runner for Rookie of the Year this year. And as Zion goes, from what I said before about Trae Young and agreeing with Mike, I think it's too late for him. Even if he comes back, I really don't think unless he's putting up like a triple-double every night and 30 points, I really don't think, even if he's getting 20 points a night and 10 rebounds, I don't think it's enough. He hasn't been doing it as long. Last year with the Trae Young, Luka Doncic thing, it kind of showed us how longevity really makes an impact into that consistency. So I don't see Zion winning Rookie of the Year. And like I mentioned earlier, he has bust potential written all over him. So we'll see how that goes. But
as far as Zion, me personally, I'd give him like a 5 to 10 game window to come back.
As of now, like 5 to 10 more games from now.
Yeah, because then he'll have played between like 50 and 65-ish games.
Okay.
So at that point, I feel like it's fair, because let's not forget that first year where Joel Embiid started playing, he was in the consideration for Rookie of the Year. They just couldn't give it to him because he played like 30 games.
Yeah.
I think they ended up giving it to Malcolm Brogdon that year.
Yep,
he was Rookie of the Year.
But if Joel Embiid had played like 15, 20 more games than he did, then I think he would have been the clear winner. So I think he plays 50, 60-ish games and does it at a rate that's head and shoulders above the rest of the rookies, then I think he could still for sure win Rookie of the Year. But I'm not sure if he's going to come back in that time period. So
I just hope Zion isn't handed Rookie of the Year. He's obviously a huge name, and he's going to make a lot of money for the NBA and the Pelicans. So I hope they're not just going to like give it to him because of all the hype. That would be pretty disappointing in that, especially that's just like such a slap in the face to all these other guys that have been working real hard. And
so hard.
I don't know. It's crazy. And Ben Simmons is always an option too, because apparently, even if you're not a rookie, you can win Rookie of the Year. Robbed. Next up on the list, we have the curious case of James Wiseman coming out of Memphis. He was given a 12-game suspension and forced to donate $11,500 to a charity of his choosing. This all came after, in 2017, Penny Hardaway, the now coach of Memphis, he was not at the time, donated some money to James Wiseman's family and his mother specifically so they could buy a house out in Memphis. This was before Penny Hardaway was the coach of Memphis, and James Wiseman was not committed anywhere, I believe. I'm not confident on that, but I don't believe he was committed anywhere at the time.
He wasn't.
Yeah, so then Penny Hardaway becomes the coach of Memphis. James Wiseman plays for Memphis, and all of a sudden this is a problem. So the NCAA suspended him and pretty much fined him. $11,500, which is absolutely insane. My biggest question, obviously, is where is he getting $11,500 from? I've been a college student. I never saw $11,500 in college. The NCAA, they're not paying these players. He's not making money for playing. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on this whole James Wiseman NCAA debacle. And, this honestly, this could honestly be like a 4-hour-long conversation just about the NCAA as a whole and, the impacts of this. I think this is going to have a huge impact moving forward. Guys are already starting to ditch the NCAA and go overseas. We saw that in RJ Hampton and, one of the Ball brothers. There's just so much that can come out of this. So I'll try to keep it short. Mike, I want to start with you and just kind of hear your thoughts on James Wiseman and that whole situation with the NCAA.
Did you expect any more from the NCAA? I'm just pretty much sick and tired of hearing about all the issues they seem to have. And like you said, these players have so many different routes to the NBA now, whether that's going overseas or even some players are known for going straight to the G League and just working their way up. So, and then I believe the NBA is working on developing a league for guys out of high school. So, the NCAA charging a college player this much money just makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they would do it, but it would be stupid of me to try to understand anything that the NCAA does in terms of money. So I don't really have much to say on the topic. Man, I guess they just know he's going to the NBA, so they know they're going to get that money at some point. I don't have much to say on the topic. I just hope, hopefully, the suspension goes by. We get to see him play and everything gets situated out. But I'm done trying to understand the NCAA.
Stacey, what about you?
This is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
First of all, like you just said, he wasn't even committed to Memphis. Penny Hardaway wasn't even the coach. So it's basically Penny Hardaway helping out a young man and his family to get situated. And then they just end up at the same school around the same time or a year apart. That's what it comes off to me. And then they charge this man basically $11,500. How in the world is going to pay that back as an 18-year-old college freshman? How is he going to pay that back? They're going to have to wait till he gets to the NBA, he gets drafted, he signs contract so they can get it back. Then he also, I think he has to do some sort of like fundraisers and charity work and all that stuff. And then you suspend him for 12 more games after you declare him ineligible for a couple of games. I want to be done with the NCAA. And you're right, this could have negative impact for them going forward. Like a lot of the top prospects coming out of high school, they're going to take other routes. And then these other routes are paying them. They are paying them. They're going to get money from the G League. They're going to get money from other leagues. They're going to get a year contract and build their way up from there. I can see that happening. And then it's all confusing because the NCAA just passed a bill for athletes to seek compensation off their likeness. But then you find a man, an 18-year-old kid, $11,500. It don't make sense. It don't make sense whatsoever. And I can see, like I said, I can see like these top athletes shying away from the NCAA and going off somewhere else. Maybe the NBA might think about bringing back the draft rule where you can go out of high school straight into the draft, something like that. So this going to have a negative impact going forward, and it's definitely a step back for the NCAA after they just passed that law.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up next if you didn't. It's kind of crazy. That's like, I think the NCAA knew that they're in trouble. They've never really had competition before like this where players have other choices, as I think either Mike or you brought up. They have other choices to get themselves to the NBA. It's not just through the NCAA anymore. And I think that's when they realize, like, okay, we're not going to pay them, but if they want to make money on their own, let them do that. And I think that was as small as it was, a huge step forward for the NCAA because they were so against the players making any money. But then they come and do this, and it's just like the step right back down. Like, this kid is 18. What 18-year-old has that kind of money when they're not getting paid to play yet? Like, it just blows my mind. This kind of fine, I guess, would be okay if the NCAA was paying him to play because he'd have some way to pay it off. But what 18-year-old kid has $11,500? It just blows my mind and pisses me off that the NCAA has that kind of power. If I was James Wiseman, I'd be like, screw that. I'll go play overseas. I'm not paying you $11,500. Yeah. Ben, what are your thoughts on the whole James Wiseman thing?
It's just, oh man, the more you guys have been talking about it, like I was upset before, but the more you guys talk about it, the more it just gets me heated up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just childish and it's stupid to charge, like you guys have been saying, 18. I'm 18. Where am I? And I'm just a normal student. He's the top student athlete in the country, which means he's always at workouts, practices, and if he's not there, he's in class or doing homework. It's just, he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have time for a job. His family doesn't have that kind of money just to throw away to a charity, which is like what the NCAA has instructed him to do. It's childish. It just doesn't make any sense. And like you guys said, it's confusing and it's a step back after that fair pay to play rule that they passed, which is definitely exciting and it's fair. And, I'm excited about that. But that also doesn't take effect until 2023. So guys like Zion Williamson, even James Wiseman himself, he could be making a ton of money off of his jersey sales right now. But he's not because the rule doesn't take effect until 4 years into the future. So I'm glad the suspension was light. It means we'll get to see more of him than we might have had the suspension been more severe, because he is an exciting prospect. He's projected to go number 1 on pretty much all the draft boards right now. But the fine, or whatever you want to call it, making him pay $11,500 some odd dollars to a charity is just childish. Where is he going to get that money? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like you guys have all said, the NCAA it's a dying organization because of the decisions like these that it makes. It's deterring student athletes, amateur athletes from their organization. RJ Hampton, Darius Bazley forewent college. He was the guy that we were talking about who interned at Under Armour for a year and just worked out and then went straight to the league. It's just there's so many other options now that the NCAA, if they want to remain relevant, needs to stop pulling stunts like this.
Definitely. I mean, it's just sad. Like, NCAA is digging their own grave, just very slowly digging their own grave. I honestly think the only way they're going to last another 10, 15 years is if they start paying and writing checks to the student athletes. I think other leagues will pop up. I think international will get more popular. But no way the NCAA is going to last, in my opinion, unless if they start writing checks. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but I just don't see it lasting. I mean, it's not like NBA scouts are solely looking at college teams anymore. They know there's prospects out internationally. Every year you see more and more international prospects getting drafted. Luka Doncic is a prime example of that. It's a more developed scouting system. Guys don't just have their eyes on the United States and college, which is really great for the guys that are trying to get into the NBA and the NBA as a whole. So we'll kind of wrap up the James Wiseman thing, move back into the NBA, talk about some not so good things in the NBA. The new Nike City jerseys. Each team has been starting to slowly release them. I think all of them are announced now. I could be wrong. There may be a couple that I'm blanking on. Yeah, not good. Not good. There's like a couple ones that are like pretty cool. A few throwback versions, which I really like. Memphis had a really cool throwback one, and Denver had a really cool throwback one. But a lot of the City jerseys are just not good. I'll kind of go around here and talk about them. I feel like the first one that needs to be talked about is Milwaukee's. Have you all seen Milwaukee's yet?
Yeah.
So Milwaukee's jersey is like a tan color, and it just says Cream City on it.
Cream City.
Cream City.
Wait, that was the Bucks?
That was the Bucks.
Oh,
I saw that. I didn't know it was the Bucks.
The Bucks are
me
Cream
neither.
City. Yeah. So I didn't understand it at all. Me and my friends were talking about it. Apparently Milwaukee is a very big brewery town. So like Cream City is meant to be like beer or something like that. But apparently I don't know the factual on that. That was just what a friend told me. But as the top Twitter comment said, that sounds more like a porno.
It
That
does.
is true.
It does.
That is true.
We gotta chill with that. I don't like me and Ben were talking about this before we started recording. Grown men had to sit in a room and agree on this. This had to go through multiple different levels of multiple different people. And all of these people signed off on this saying, it's a great idea, let's do it.
Yeah.
If I was Giannis or whoever that we scheduled wear jerseys that night, I'm taking off that night. Load management.
Honestly, like,
I'm
Giannis
out
is
wearing
coming
Cream
up.
City.
Giannis is coming up on a time where he's going to have to decide whether he wants to stay. Do you really think making a grown man wear something that says Cream City on it is going to make him want to stay? He's going to bounce just so he doesn't have to wear a Cream City jersey. Like, what? Horrible. Have you guys seen any other ones that you guys want to talk about that either are just terrible or you really like?
I like
Yeah.
the Grizzlies one for sure. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really like the classic Grizzlies one. That's one of my favorites right there. That's what my guy wearing on 2K right now. So, it's good to see that coming out. And, I saw another one that I like. Oh, I like the Nuggets one. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's
It's kind of like a throwback to the one that Melo was playing there.
Yeah, I like that one. Go ahead, Stacey. My bad.
I love the Nuggets jersey. I love that jersey. Like I was saying before we recorded, it made me want to be a Nuggets fan just so I could have that jersey. I love it. One of the jerseys that was terrible, Jordan.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah, it's terrible.
The Celtics jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was...
Those, man.
First of all, Enes Kanter did it no favors by leaking that picture. It made it, when I saw that picture, I'm like, I hope this is not real. I really hope it's not real. And it turned out to be real. Oh.
Yeah, Kanter has to be rocking a Nokia from like 2002. That was a terrible picture. It looked teal.
Yeah, I'm like, how they get blue, Celtic, whatever. But then I saw the real jersey. I'm like, this not even any better. It's not any better.
One of the ones that I kind of like that surprised me was the Chicago Bulls. It's kind of in the style of their flag. So it's like light blue with the red stars. I know. I thought it was pretty cool.
I did like the Bulls ones. I did not like the Pistons ones. However,
yeah, they were boring.
They look kind of like soccer jerseys. Just like blue stripes here, red stripe in the middle. It's just super basic, kind of boring, kind of ugly. But one more thing I want to say about the Cream City jerseys. No one is going to buy those. Like,
no, zero chance.
As a business decision, you're not going to make any money off of those.
People may buy them as the joke.
Maybe, yeah. But, like, I don't know. Kids are ruthless. Like, when I was a kid, we had Rudy Gay on the Raptors. A friend of mine bought a Rudy Gay jersey because we were real excited about him coming over, even though he left after, like, half a season. But he had the word gay on the back of his shirt. So he got, like, picked on, like, as kids would.
Yeah.
What do you think people are going to say when you have, like, a high school team shows up to school and he's got, like, Cream City right here and, like, a tattoo on the back? Like, it's just, you're not going to sell any jerseys. It's a bad business decision.
At least Rudy Gay doesn't play there.
You're right.
Double whammy.
That would be a double whammy.
No, but the Mavericks ones are really bad too. I saw like a good tweet. It was like a Disney Channel original movie, Mavericks.
Yeah.
They're like
They tried to go graffiti with it.
Yeah, they're like it's just really bad.
Yeah.
It's the Clippers jersey that the black and white. Is that the city jersey for them? Because I like those.
I think so.
Yeah, it reminds me of San
The
Andreas.
ones that look like San Andreas, yeah.
Yeah, I love San Andreas.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I want to talk to the Raptors organization. Any Raptors execs, Drake, if you're listening, I'm tired of the black and gold. It's every year the same thing. Let's switch it up. Let's start trying some new things. Come on now.
Yeah, it's time to do something new. I hated Houston's. Houston's were just the regular white ones, except it says H-Town on the front.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. Get more creative. And then the Timberwolves, that one surprised me. They're like light blue, and it says MSP on the front. I was trying to figure out what MSP.
It used to be, what was it, the Minneapolis?
Oh yeah. Way back.
Yeah, but I don't know. MSP, it was really weird.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of them.
That one, yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers, they look exactly the same. I don't see any differences.
Yeah, I don't like it when teams do that. I don't like it when they just like make the same jersey pretty much.
Yeah. Rip City looks the same. Yeah. Well, the Wizards kind of look the same.
Them Lakers, though.
Yeah, I do like the Lakers ones. They're kind of similar to their regular yellow ones, but they added a little bit more of a touch to it. I liked it. I thought it came out. It looks classy. I like that a lot. I wish the Lakers did like an all black jersey. That would be pretty cool.
Like the Mamba jerseys?
Yeah, it'd be really nice to see them rock those. But yeah, overall, let's go 0 to 10, compiling all of the NBA City jerseys right now that we are aware of. On a scale of 0 to 10, how do you like all of the City jerseys this year? 0 being the worst, 10 being the best. We'll start with you, Ben.
Just off the top of my head, I'm gonna go with a solid 4. Just based on like the Grizzlies and Nuggets are really dragging up the level. They're really carrying the team. I like the throwback style. I kind of wish the Raptors did something like that. But that is like an official alternate jersey for us this year, I guess, that we're going to wear once or twice is the purple. But I don't know. I feel like if teams start doing that kind of thing more often, it would be better than trying to do new things and trying to be current like the Mavs. Those just they just look childish. They look weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, overall, Boston, Cream City, really kind of dragging down the rest, and then the rest are just average. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a 4.
My question is, did they bring people in to like say like, hey, what do you guys think of these jerseys?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They didn't test it out at all, I feel like. I don't know. Mike, 0 to 10.
I give it a 5. I've seen a couple I like, a couple that look like they tried to be something and they're not. And then some of them, just like we said, like the Philly one is just the same. So not too high, not too low on it. Solid 5.
Okay. Stacey?
Yeah, I'm right there in the middle, 2-5. It was something that I really like the Nuggets, and then it was something like the Rockets, like we just mentioned. And then there's Milwaukee and Boston. So I'm in the middle.
I would have said 5, but Cream City just drops it down an entire point. So I'm with Ben. I'm gonna say 4.
That was my reasoning too.
They could have done a better job. Like, I just want to know, like, you got people at Nike and then you have people with the teams. How did all of those get approved through that many different channels and that many different people? Like, I feel like they didn't bring this to anyone. They didn't do any consumer research. They didn't ask the people what they thought of it. Like one of you guys mentioned, no one's buying the Cream City jersey. No one's buying those Celtics alternates. Like, terrible, terrible, terrible. I don't know. Time to make a change. Taking a look at the NBA standings, moving on from the City jerseys. We were talking about this earlier. There are kind of some surprises for the good and for the bad. One of the things that kind of stands out, now they're kind of in the middle. They kind of slowed down from their really hot start in the beginning. The Phoenix Suns. Obviously have Devin Booker. Aaron Baines is looking like an all-star all of a sudden. now that he's not with Kyrie and he's not on a toxic teammate like that. Just like all of other Kyrie's teammates. Don't even get me started with that. Every single person that Kyrie's played with, stats have gone up, but that's not the topic of this conversation. Phoenix Suns, are they a playoff team? Stacey.
No, they're not a playoff team. I don't excuse me. I don't think they're ready yet. I don't think they're ready. And then I do think that DeAndre Ayton, his presence is valuable to the team, and he's not due to be back for a while due to the suspension. But I don't think they're a playoff team. I think they're still too young. They're still trying to figure things out. They're just not ready yet.
Okay, Mike, what about you?
I agree. They've been impressive early. You know, when you add veterans like Ricky Rubio, and then you already have Kelly Oubre and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, like you said, you know, they were bound to get better at some time. Aaron Baines has been playing great. But as far as the playoffs, when I just look at the West and look at the teams they're going up against, I don't see them making it this year. I think they'll get close. I think they'll be within that 9 to 11 seed range right there. But playoff team just yet? Nah, not yet.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like if they were in the East, maybe they could steal the 8th seed, 7th seed, maybe like that. But I don't know. I think they got off to a hot start. That's pretty much going to be it. I think things are going to get confusing when Ayton comes back. You know, Baines is probably going to have to take the back seat there, coming off the bench, because they're definitely not going to start two centers. Yeah, I don't see them making it in the West. The West is just too competitive right now. Ben, what about you?
I agree. I think they're going to be reminiscent of the Kings last year, like a young, exciting team who, you know, is right there, but they can't quite get over the hump. Kind of that like 9 to 11 range, but in a tight race for the playoffs, at least. I don't see Devin Booker has been having a great season, by the way, which I see continuing. Devin Booker has been, you know, improving every year. He's a great young player. And his team's finally winning, kind of, which is good. But I don't see this Aaron Baines 44% three-point shooting being all that sustainable. And it's not like he's not really taking them. 4 for 6 against the Lakers, 4 for 7 against the Grizzlies, 3 for 5 against the Sixers. He's taking them at a pretty consistent rate and knocking them down more than he should and probably more than he will. And like you guys said, when Ayton gets back, how is that going to affect the dynamic of the team? So I'm not quite convinced on the Suns just yet, but at the very most, I could see them securing like a 7-8 seed, perhaps.
So Baines, on the thing you brought up about Baines and his shooting, I do think he'll be able to sustain that. Maybe not to that high of a degree, but towards the end of his run with the Celtics, he was starting to hit threes like that. So that's definitely something he has in his arsenal. He definitely is one of those big guys that can take a three. So that's, you know, when he's on the court, you can't leave him open for a three because he will shoot it. He's not afraid, which is rare to find a big man. Not necessarily anymore, I guess, but still a hard trait to instill, just to have a green light and shoot as a big man like that and knock them down at a consistent rate. But yeah, I guess we're all kind of on the same page. Maybe 8 seed, if anything, but you know, they still kind of have a long way to go. One other thing coming out of the West, the San Antonio Spurs, they're not looking too good right now. They're towards the bottom of the rankings. They have made the playoffs every year since 1997. They have not missed since 1997. Greg Popovich, the GOAT of coaches. There's no debating that for the NBA. Pop is the GOAT of coaches. Is he going to miss it for the first time since 97? Ben, we'll start with you this time.
It's a real chance. First of all, the West is strong this year. You've got lots of young contenders. I'm not entirely convinced about the Timberwolves or the Suns, who are sitting at that 7-8 right now. But just as far as the Rockets, just young, impressive teams like that sitting all above them, I think the Blazers are eventually gonna, you know, work their way back up. They're in the bottom third of the league right now. But the Spurs are just, they lost to the Wizards. They've dropped 7 straight. That first loss was against the Celtics, which is excusable, but now they're losing. They lost to the Grizzlies, Timberwolves, Magic, and Trailblazers, Mavericks, and the Wizards is probably the worst of all those losses. And their schedule honestly doesn't get any easier. They play the Sixers, they play the Lakers, Clippers, Timberwolves. They're going to have a tough go of it for sure. DeMar DeRozan has been trying to carry in a sense. He's been having an okay season, shooting more efficiently than he ever shot with the Raptors, 53% from the field. But I don't know if that team has enough for them to get over the hump. I don't think they're going to be this bad all year. I don't think they're going to be sitting this low in the standings all year. But I also am not entirely convinced that they're going to be able to make another playoff push. Because remember, they were 7 last year. So it's going to be tough, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs, especially given all the other contenders that you have in the West.
Okay. Stacey, what about you?
Looking at the standings now, at 7 and 8, we have the Suns and we have the Timberwolves. Those are 2 teams out of all the teams that are in position right now. I expect not to make the playoffs. I expect them to drop out. And then I look at the other teams to see who can take the place. I think the Blazers will improve, and I think the Spurs will sneak in and get an 8 seed. I think they'll do better in the second half of the year. They do have a tough slate coming up, like Ben just mentioned. But, I mean, they're a veteran team. And then you still got Coach Pop. They're going to figure it out in the second half of the year. But it is the end of the run. All good things come to an end. And I wouldn't be surprised that if they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, they're right now where they at, the state they're in right now, they're going to retool in a minute. They're going to retool in a minute. If this continues, I could see them breaking up the team. I could see them trading LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. I've been reading rumors about DeRozan getting traded to the Orlando Magic. Mm-hmm. I've been seeing that look for a while now. So, I mean, the Spurs are getting close to the end, and they're going to get ready to retool. But I believe that in the second half of the NBA season, they're going to make a push. But they're just going to get like this 8 seed, 7th at best.
Mike, what about you?
It's early. I'm really surprised at the slow start the Spurs had. Like you said, they've lost, I think you said, 7 in a row now. I'm really surprised at that. But I got to believe when you got a coach like Coach Popovich who's, known to make something out of nothing, I got to believe that they'll pick it back up. Now, like I said earlier, the Blazers are 5 and 10 and so are the Spurs. So if I had to pick one team to make it out of that hole, granted, the Blazers might have the superstar talent, but I'll take that coaching edge with the Spurs. So I think they'll make it out of this hole, but this is the beginning of the end. I think they're giving up like 116 points a game. That's their problem. They're not stopping anybody. They're giving up too many points, and I think they need to make some moves in order to be more formidable. Now, this was a team that I thought would make the playoffs, would be an 8th or 7th seed, and right now it's not looking too good. But as the season goes on, I just can't expect to see them continue to play this bad. When you're in Coach Pop's system, you have guys that's actually been there for more than a year now, and DeRozan, who's an all-star, and LaMarcus Aldridge, who can get buckets. And then they're still working DeJounte Murray back, who's an all-defensive player in his rookie year. So I think they'll get there. It's just moving a little bit slower, but they definitely need to make some moves to improve the roster, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mike, I definitely agree with you. The past 3 years, I've doubted the Spurs making the playoffs. Just looking at their rosters, comparing it with everyone else in the Western Conference. The past 3 years, I've been like, okay, there's no way they're making the playoffs. There's no way they're making the playoffs. And Pop and the Spurs always prove me wrong. They always find a way to get it in. Let me reword that. They always find a way to get into the playoffs. Yeah, so I'm not going to doubt them. They are off to a slow start. They're not the worst in the West. So there is that. There's still early in the season. There's a lot of room to grow. So I'm with you on this one, Mike. Just give them time. They'll come around. They have an experienced roster with some good young players. I have no doubt they'll be able to find a way to at least snag the 8th seed. Last season, I think the 7th and 8th seed came down to like the last couple games of the season. I feel like something like that's going to happen again this year. The West is just a very competitive conference, as it always has been the past couple of years. But moving on from the Spurs, also on the West Coast, we have the Golden State Warriors with the worst record in the NBA of 3-13, I believe. 3-13. Are they really this bad? Obviously they have all the injuries with Clay, Curry, and now D'Angelo Russell. But But, factoring all that in, are they really this bad of a team? Have they just had a tough schedule? Are they going to be able to dig their way out of the hole? And are they a playoff team at the end of the day? And I'm looking at the roster they have and factoring in when injuries will come back, if the injuries will come back. Steph Curry is kind of unknown. Klay Thompson's kind of unknown. So we'll start with you this time, Stacey. Are the Warriors really this bad?
Yep. Better believe it. And I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, they have gone through the injury. Steph Curry's out, Klay Thompson's out, Kevin Durant left in free agency, D'Angelo Russell's out, Draymond Green been sitting, he's been hurt too. So, they basically throwing guys out there and see what they come up with. But on face value, yeah, they're bad. They just got to wait till next year. I had originally picked them to be a 7 seed before the season started, but right now, fast forward to today, they're not gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna stay towards the bottom of the West. They just don't have the pieces. They got a lot of people who just trying to make a name for themselves, who's coming out of nowhere. Basically, you got Eric Paschal, then you have Willie Cauley-Stein trying to work his way back, and players like that. So it's just a whole different move, a whole different set right now for the Warriors, and I don't see it getting any better. They just lost by 48 to the Mavericks. Yeah, it's a wrap. It's done.
You sound confident in that. All right, Mike, what about you? Are the Warriors really this bad?
Yeah, I agree with Stacey. They are this bad. When you lose Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell's in and out of the lineup, I mean, this is what you're left with. They've lost Iguodala, they've lost Livingston. I mean, they've lost a lot of people. So when you look at this team with what they have now that's healthy, with the Eric Paschals of the world, who else? Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, and Draymond Green is a C+, maybe a C roster in a league full of A+ teams right now. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the 142 to 94 beatdowns in this league because right now, the way the league is so balanced, you need heavy hitters, you need stars. And right now, Draymond Green, oh my gosh, seeing him without superstars around him, he just looks like an average player. And I don't mean to take a shot at him, but I was saying before the season started, Draymond's going to need to be up around 18 points a game. He's not even getting up around that with these players around him. I'm watching the Warrior game. Alec Burks out here dropping buckets for him. So, and that's not a shot. It's just showing you the state of their roster right now. We obviously know this is an off year. I'm sure they'll be back, but they're this bad this year, and they're going to be, they might get, Melo Ball, they might get a high pick or something. Who knows?
I would agree with both of you guys so far. I mean, they're looking really bad. And without Curry or Thompson, and like you guys said, D'Angelo Russell in and out of that lineup with an injury, they're not making the playoffs. Zero chance. Yeah. One of the things that I'm looking forward to watching is all their bandwagon fans jumping off the bandwagon. Because, a lot of the Golden State fans.
They're Clipper fans now.
Yeah, they had no idea who Monte Ellis was. But then Steph Curry, Klay Thompson come aboard, and they get Kevin Durant, and all of a sudden everyone's a Golden State fan. So I'm curious to see who's going to stay on board as a Golden State fan this year. We've already seen a lot of new Clippers fans come out of the woods. So we'll see what happens with that. Ben, what are your thoughts? Are the Warriors really this bad?
Yes. No question about it. The Warriors, listen, if Eric Paschal is your leading scorer, if Alec Burks is putting up, what did he put up, like 25 plus last night?
Yeah.
Something like that. That's how you know you're in trouble. And the one guy who is remaining from that kind of Golden State Warriors dynasty of the past few seasons is averaging 8.7 points on 37.9% shooting. Like, he's just stinking it up. That's why I was doing that. He stinks. He stinks this season. And there's nothing he's going to do about it to change it, because at this point, I think the smartest thing for the Warriors to do is tank. And I'm an expert. I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm a Miami Dolphins fan.
You're a Raptors fan. You guys dealt with that for a while, too.
We never really tanked though. Not while I was.
Just a bad team.
Yeah, I guess the Chris Bosh era was just like Chris Bosh putting up like 26 points. And, what was they called it? Trying to do something, and Andrea Bargnani shooting like 4-3. I don't want to. But no, tank, get a good like top 3-ish pick, and you'll be good to go when Steph Curry, Klay Thompson come back. If you trade D'Angelo Russell and get a good return for him, or if you hang on to D'Angelo Russell, either way you're set as far as talent for next season. It's the smartest thing to do in my opinion, because this season nothing is happening with the Warriors, regardless of if Steph Curry comes back by the All-Star break or if he sits all season. The Warriors aren't doing anything, so may as well tank and get a high draft pick for next season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, at this point, Curry and Thompson, call it done for the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a very interesting opportunity here that I can't think of another NBA team that's ever been in this position where, I mean, they're a good team, but not without all their players. So they're horrible right now. So, you know, tank like you recommended, get that good draft pick, and all of a sudden they're on the board again for next year. You know, a team with we've seen this team with just Steph, Klay, and Draymond, and they've been good. So, you know, if they can do that and get a top draft pick this year, that's such an interesting situation for them to be in. Yeah, so take the L on this year. They're not going to win it. There's too much competition. I completely agree with that. Another storyline for the NBA right now, the Celtics are on top of the East. No one really expected that going into the year. Everyone kind of wrote them off saying it's either the Bucks or the Sixers. My question for you guys is, will the Celtics stay the number 1 seed in the East? You know, obviously we have Hayward out for probably about another month. I think he has another month till he'll be back. And obviously the Sixers and the Bucks are still a team that they're still there. Will the Celtics remain the top seed in the East? We'll start with you this time, Mike.
No, I don't think they'll remain the top seed. I think they're off to a great start. I think they're playing excellent defense, but I still think a team like the Bucks, I don't know about the Sixers. They've been struggling a little bit. We were mentioning that earlier, but I still think a team like the Bucks could give them a run for their money. But I will say I am surprised at how well they are playing early. You know, they played a close game against the Clippers the other night. So I like the Celtics. Would I put my money on them finishing as the first seed? Probably not. But I think they'll be in that top 3 seed still, no matter what.
Stacey, what about you?
Same thing. I don't expect them to finish number 1. And then for what it's worth, the 76ers is only 2 games back from the Celtics. So, you know, I think the 76ers is going to do better. I think the Bucks going to stay towards the top. It's going to be between them two for that 1 seed. But, you know, I expect the Celtics to be 3. I expect them to be 3. I figured that was going to be good, but I didn't know where they're going to be higher or lower, just because they got their core now with young players, Jason Tatum, Brown, but they looking good, and shout out to them, but I don't think they're going to finish number 1 though.
Ben, what about you?
I mean, I think the Celtics are the best team in the East to this point. But even as we speak, they're not the 1 seed. The Bucks are the 1 seed with their win tonight that put them half a game ahead. But the Celtics, I feel, are the best team in the East, best equipped to be the 1 seed at the end of the regular season. That being said, I still don't think they're going to make it out of the Eastern Conference come playoff time. But they have a good chance to do something in the playoffs this year. You know what, Jordan? Hey, I was sleeping on them preseason, before this started, off season.
You all were sleeping on them.
Even up till now, the Celtics are having a great season. They're a fun team to watch. Not that I'm, again, expecting them to come out of the East, but the Celtics are the best team in the East right now, and I think they have a real good shot at being the 1 seed heading into the playoffs.
Okay. I'm glad to see you kind of woke up from your nap, Ben. You're still a little drowsy, though, because you don't see them coming out of the East. But, you know, Stacey and Mike over here, they're still dead asleep. Time to wake you guys up. Or keep sleeping. Like, I'm fine with whatever. But, I mean, you know, we're doing this without Gordon Hayward right now. And you guys saw Gordon Hayward this year before his injury.
Yeah.
Dude's better than his Utah self. He was putting up numbers, right? career high, ties his career high. He's a beast. And we took the Clippers, one of the teams that are supposedly contending this year for the title, to overtime and lost by one possession, one three-pointer, which we should have hit in the end, but I don't want to get into that. Kemba shouldn't have taken that final shot. It should have been Tatum, but that's sidetracked. No. In my opinion, in the NBA, seeding really doesn't matter anymore. For at least like the top 4 seeds, I really don't think seeding matters. Brad Stevens is the kind of coach that I don't think cares about seeding. I think for him, it's just make the playoffs and we'll worry about it from there. If we're clearly a top 3 seed going down to the end of the year, I don't think he's going to force Tatum, Brown, Kemba, and Hayward, if he's back by then, to be playing a ton of minutes a game and risk injury. He's going to kind of put the backups in, let the rookies play. Grant Williams, maybe we'll recall Taco Fall, let him get some minutes. I really don't think he's going to force anything and risk injury. Once the playoffs come, I think this team is really special. I think, this ball movement, I don't know if you guys have been able to watch a lot of the Celtics games. I've never really seen ball movement like this ever. They're passing the ball around completely selflessly. Like, they don't care who scores as long as they score. And I've really never seen a team first mentality played out this well. And you got guys on that roster like Marcus Smart. Did you guys see his hustle play last night against the Clippers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That dive to get the ball back in, that just shows like how badly they want to win. I was talking with one of my friends and he was saying that regular season games don't matter. That's not really true for the Celtics. They go out every single game and treat it as if it's a game 7, which I absolutely love about this team. I do think they are going to make it out of the East. I think they are a contender for the NBA Finals. And I'm not saying that biased. I'm saying that completely factual from what I've seen this year. They've just come an extremely far way. They've kind of dropped all the Kyrie drama in the past. They've left it in the past. I haven't, but they have. They've left it in the past, and they've completely moved on from it, and they look like a different beast. I'm extremely excited to see them play either the Bucks, the Sixers, the Lakers, or the Clippers again later this season. So far we haven't had the hardest schedule. I will give you guys that. But the games we've lost have been pretty close. Kings game down to a buzzer beater that Marcus Smart missed a layup he should have hit. And the Clippers went to overtime, only losing by 3. So I definitely think, the Celtics have a legit chance to win this year. I'll wake you guys up when we raise banner 18, because apparently that's the only way to wake you guys up. But Ben, it looks like you're starting to figure it out. But moving on from those NBA surprises, to close out the episode, one thing I want to talk to you guys about is something that isn't necessarily new this year, maybe within the past 3 years. Load management. It's been getting talked about a lot recently because I feel like more and more players are opting into load management, which, 4 or 5 years ago, no one knew what that word meant. Kawhi Leonard kind of started it, and more players are opting into it. Kind of want to get your thoughts on load management as a whole. Do you like it? Do you respect it? Do you think it's actually doing anything? And kind of go from there. Ben, I want to start with you, since you are a Raptors fan and you had Kawhi, and load management worked for him, obviously, as you guys won the title. So, starting with you, what are your thoughts on load management?
One thing I will say negative about load management before I start getting into the whole bulk of the topic. So one thing we were going to talk about tonight before we ran out of time was why are the NBA TV ratings so low right now? And it's a mix of things. People are watching on Reddit. That's where I watch my games. I'm going to self-snitch right now. But at the same time, if the top players in the league aren't playing, and that's a mixture of injuries and then Kawhi's load management, fans aren't as interested in watching games. And it's fine. It's fine. And that's obviously a negative thing for the league. Their ratings are down. But look at what it did for the Raptors last year. I will preach load management to anyone because it got us a title. Kawhi rested, it's 20 some odd games, 22 games in the regular season last year. And then come playoff time, he's well rested, he's ready to go. He has one of the best playoff performances of all time. And he he pretty much dragged us out of that Philadelphia series. So I will support load management to the death. It's listen, if a guy needs to rest, he needs to rest. It's not any of the fans' business. It's the organization's business. And if the coach feels or the doctors feel like it's the best thing for a player to rest, then rest him. This has been happening for years. Minute restrictions when a player comes off an ACL tear. Like, it's not just guys resting because they're lazy. It's guys resting because it's what's best for their health. It's what's best for their team. So, I don't know. Load management, I don't have a problem. I think people kind of need to stop crying about load management.
So, with the load management thing, where you're saying that, it's used for when players, need the rest. I agree that that's what it should be for, but I feel like that's not always what it's for. So, Kyrie Irving, I hate bringing him up because I feel like you guys just judge me. Kyrie Irving is going to sit out against the Celtics next week due to load management.
That is a bad move.
So let me ask you guys that. Is it because he's hurt or because he doesn't want to deal with all the booze? That's where load management comes into question.
I mean,
is he really hurt?
He's gonna be booed regardless. So yeah. I don't think it's.
Do you know Kyrie? If he's not playing, he's not going.
Oh, he's not going to be at the game?
Kyrie doesn't go to games. He doesn't play.
That's really funny. That's just, I did not know about that. That's lame as hell.
Yeah. So that's where like the kind of thing with load management comes into is like, if it's needed and it's great. And it's worked for Kawhi. That's one of the main examples. It worked for Kawhi. He brought home a title because it worked. But there are some times where, why is this guy sitting? It really doesn't make sense. And this season Kawhi has sat a ton of games already, and
he's been injured though. He has a knee contusion or something.
Contusion's a fancy word for bruise. I don't know. Mike, what are your thoughts on load management? Obviously, LeBron's the guy that does that, so interesting to hear your take.
I'm kind of torn in between. Obviously, if you're hurt or you need rest, I'm always, a pro player. Go ahead and do that. Get that rest you need. But at the same time, you can get hurt on any given night, whether you sit out or whether you don't. I mean, even for a guy like Kawhi Leonard, and we talk about how great he was in the playoffs last year, he sat out all those games just for in the playoffs. He still looked hurt. There were still times where he was hobbled around and limping a lot. So, I mean, anything can happen in the NBA at any time. So, like I said, I'm torn in between. And also another way you can look at it that it could be a negative thing is, like you were saying, Ben, with the ratings being lower like that, less players being on TV loses TV deals, and guess what? The salary cap doesn't go up. You lose those deals, players get paid less money. I mean, that's obviously thinking long term, but if, it has to start somewhere. And this could be the start of that with with the way the ratings are going, because I'm personally surprised at how low the ratings are simply because we've got the most balanced league we've seen in so long. And it seems like every night there's always a game to watch. So I'm really torn between load management. I'm for it if it's handled in a better way. Like I forget which show I was watching, but they were suggesting, you can't load manage on nationally televised games or some away games, use it more so on the back-to-backs, things of that nature. I would be more, I guess, comfortable with it in that sense if it was more controlled. But right now, at this point, you can just sit out any game and just say load managing. But I mean, if you can get hurt at any point, I really don't see the point. People go out there and pay to see these players play, and the players like to get paid. And ultimately, you get paid because of the ratings and things of that nature. So it's a mixed bag for me. I don't want to say I hate it, but I do like it a little bit in a sense. It's just case by case for me.
So basically, it would be okay if there were kind of like some rules or restrictions to it?
Yeah, like some restrictions. Like, obviously, if the Celtics and Lakers are playing, I don't want to see LeBron and Jason Tatum load managing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you played the night before. If you on ESPN tonight, I need to see you on the court. Plain and simple. Like,
exactly.
I mean, that's just how I feel about it. Now, granted, remember, if you're hurt, though, that's an entirely different conversation. But if you're just calling it load managing, and I'm not really for that, for like those type of marquee matchup games, because the regular season still matters to some people. People still go to those games. Christmas games, I don't want to see you sitting out on Christmas games or things of that nature.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was an interview with Derrick Rose a couple of days ago where the interviewer is asking about load management, and he said, well, if load management was a thing when I was there, I'd still be in Chicago. So that's for an example where, load management, if used correctly, can have benefits. If he was able to take his time and not rush back from that injury, maybe he didn't re-injure it. Maybe he is still playing at that caliber. Maybe he never kind of dropped off the face of the earth for a while and played in New York and all over. Maybe he's still MVP D Rose that we knew back then. Stacey, what are your thoughts on load management?
As a fan of the game, as somebody who love to watch the game, I don't like it. Like, say, for instance, I go to a Lakers-Clippers game, and then Kawhi, Paul George, AD sits out the game, load management. As a fan, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I paid $300 for this seat. I want to see everybody on the court.
Yeah.
So from a fan standpoint, I don't like it. But from a human standpoint and being more objective, I'm all for the players. Players do deal with a long season. Some of these players deal with nagging injuries, and they just need to sit out. They just need their rest. It was beneficial for the Raptors for Kawhi. Look, they won the championship, and players they get paid a lot of money. There's a lot of pressure on, so you want to make sure that you're in the best shape or you're in the best mental space possible, because load management could be used for mental health reasons too. But like I said, as a fan, I don't like it. How we about the ratings dropping? I think it's because people don't respect the regular season. They don't respect it early on. They don't respect the games in November and December, and maybe somewhere in January a little bit. The regular season has took a hit in the fans' eyes over the years, and people just waiting for the playoffs to come around because they already know, like, the teams that we expect to make it 9 times out of 10, they're going to make it. So there's no reason to watch the games this early. But one thing I was thinking about to defeat load management, to up the ratings, is lighten the NBA schedule. Peel back from 82 games. 82 games, that's a lot of games. That is a lot of games. That's why I only like going to baseball. That's why I only like watching baseball. It's 162 games. There's way too many. And 82 is way too many. It's way too many. They peel back the schedule, maybe get like 65, something like that. Then, players, they're gonna play. They're gonna play, and then the rating's gonna be higher because now you got less games from the 82. And you don't want to miss no actions. You don't want to miss no payday. So that could be a strategy, a suggestion to come back to low ratings and to come back low management.
Yeah, I know Adam Silver has been talking about that for the past couple of seasons, thinking about dropping down from 82 to something else. He never really gave a number, but I would assume around 60s. That could kind of eliminate back-to-backs, give some space in between games to let guys naturally load manage and never actually miss a game. But personally, I don't think that will ever happen, just because the NBA would lose out on way too much money. Think about how much money they're making every single game that's on TV, whether it's regionally broadcast or nationally broadcasted. They're making a ton of money each of those games. So, as long as the ratings don't get so bad that they're losing money and TV deals will get lost, I don't think they'll ever drop it down. I'd be very surprised, but could be wrong. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of the Crown Hoops podcast. This is episode number 25. As always, I am joined by Ben Okazawa, Stacey Collier, and Mike White. My name is Jordan Daly, and we will see you guys next week.